morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the morning show right here on Love FM and Love Television. And of course, it is a Monday within this beautiful jewel of ours. We're certainly glad you could join us. And we certainly hope that this morning's discussions are going to be informative and engaging. If you're streaming in the diaspora, we're certainly glad you could join us. Today is the 29th day of June. If you're celebrating a birthday today, we say happy birthday. If you're celebrating an anniversary, we're glad you stuck it out. And of course, when it's Monday, we normally do a recap of the Sunday lottery draw. Let me see what played yesterday. First prize was 8274. 8274. 74 being the single winning number. The second prize was 4327, 4327, and the third prize was 8790, 8790. Missing numbers was 1, 5, and 6. If you won, congratulations. If not, the Bolito comes up this week. Tonight, a draw comes up at 9:10 right here on Love FM and Love Television at 9:10 p.m. And as they say, you got to be in it to win it. Of course, this morning is Monday, Revolution of the Mind Day, and of course, we will be joined by our news director right here at Love FM, Miss Renee Trujillo. So right after the break, we should be starting our discussions, and at some point during the course of this morning, we'll open the lines if you want to join us in the conversation, but we'll tell you when. So it's now 27 minutes to 7 o'clock. We take a quick break, and we come right back. And we're back. It's now 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. You're in tune to The Morning Show, and this is Love FM and Love Television. Wherever you are, we're glad you could join us this morning and that you make us part of that compliment along with your good coffee or tea or whatever nice beverage or breakfast additive that you have this morning. And it's certainly good to start the week on the right foot. As Rich said, there was some showers last night, and it's pretty dry this morning, not too bad, and it's not raining. It's a nice sort of very temperate morning today. Of course, you know when you start the week right, you want to start it on the right foot. I want to say very quickly, I really appreciate the piece that was carried in the newscast this morning as it relates to getting people familiarized with their business, whether or not their businesses are growing. I thought these are things that it's not the most flashy of subject matter, but it's the most important when you're running your business. To know whether or not your business is growing, whether or not you're making money. Oftentimes we confuse cash flow with profits, and I thought it was a great partnership between Beltrade, DFC, and the various government authorities that came together to be able to have this sort of seminar and workshop to kind of alert people how to read their business financially, how to read your balance sheet, look at your entire financial structure, and be able to track it, and to be able to say whether or not you're making money, whether or not you're making profits, and whether or not your business is growing. Because you have to have a starting point, and then when you test it again, then you'll know whether you move from that point either negatively or positively. So very, very, very important for us to appreciate that component within businesses. So when you're running your business, oftentimes people get so immersed, especially in small businesses where you don't have any large structure like financial controller or accountants in place. So everything is done basically by you, and sometimes it's just where you're transferring money and you're paying and you're recurring and you're paying for services. The fundamental issue is that you sometimes get lost in the entire you get lost in the entire operation of your business, making sure that your customers are satisfied and they're getting the product, but you don't know whether or not you're turning a profit. And because you have to make a profit when you're in business. You're not in business to lose money. At minimum, you want to be able to know that you're growing. So great initiative by the Beltrade, DFC, and all of them that came together, and I'm glad that they covered it in the newscast today, because, like I said, it's an important part of doing business. And our economy is made up particularly by many small businesses. We have to remember one thing: it's the small businesses that supports the big businesses. So if you're having a small business, you have to get your telephone, you have to get your water, you have to get your electricity. And you're small, but you are contributing towards the whole for that big business. No small business, no big business. That's how it works. So the bottom line is small businesses are the foundation. So we want you to know whether you're moving forward. So glad that the government authorities saw fit to be able to do that. And I think it's an important part of what all businesses should be looking at. And as we say, on a Monday, we're joined by our news director, Rene Trujillo. Rene, good morning. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good, Troy.
It's good? Excellent, excellent. Yeah, my weekend, was consumed by the NEBL
Sports.
finals. Yes, as usual. We played on Saturday. Unfortunately, we lost. But anyway, Game 2 comes up this Friday night right at the Orange Walk Sporting Complex, Game 2. And that's where we hope to be able to get our equalizer. And we urge all Orange Walk fans to come out. Wherever you are throughout the length and breadth of the district, make sure you're at the Orange Walk Multipurpose Stadium or Complex on Friday at 9 p.m., tip-off time. And
Where?
in Orange Walk.
Orange Walk?
The
Weekend?
yes, the multipurpose complex, 9 o'clock on Friday. So that's where all roads will lead to. So see you in Orange Walk this weekend, where we will definitely do the equalizer. We feel very confident about that. We outplayed that team. We just played shoot horribly, and so because of that, I believe that shots that we normally would have made, we didn't make. But that's how the cookie crumble. That's not no excuses. We suck it up, we adjust, and we take game 2 in Orange Walk. So we need our six man to be there, all fans, and so we look forward to seeing you there. Renee, there was a shooting last night in San Pedro, where 2 persons is known to have died, as well as 1. 3 persons were shot, based on the preliminary reporting that I've seen floating around on social media. And one of them was a security guard, and the other one Arab descent gentleman. And so I guess you'll carry that news in more detail definitely today. But what dawns on me is that it's how the negative side of how these deaths, while in sheer numbers it would look very minuscule in a larger society. In a small society like us, those things ring very loud and kind of give a bad impression for our society, when in actual fact we're not a bunch of killers and shooters that lives in this country, but just a few persons, for whatever reason. I guess the motive is not yet established. I guess during the course
The
of
motive
today,
apparently is robbery.
it appears that would be the first position that we would go at. I do remember the store, and I know that store had some problems. There was a fire that burnt it inside out or something like that, if you remember. I remember sometimes maybe I don't know how long it was. It's quite a while now, but and change, because it's like right over the bridge.
On
when
the
you
north
cross
side,
over on the
yeah.
north side. Yes, I know that store. I did stay once or twice at the Trescoco facility, and so that store was very nearby that I would stop and maybe pick up small amenities when you cross the bridge. I'm familiar with the location. It is in a quiet zone kind of thing, meaning that at night, like 9, you would have little traffic. And we were just talking about that with some people from San Pedro during the week. I was at a small little workshop, and persons from San Pedro were there, and they were talking about, the whole issue of, the concept of San Pedro shutting down early, is kind of a negative for tourism, because most persons, when they travel, they want, some people want to have choices, a little bit of vibrancy as well, no? And when you kind of shut it down early, it doesn't bode well for tourism. It has its own impact.
I was talking to the minister about that the other day, when I said to him, I remember when I used to frequent San Pedro. You jump on that flight every Friday, and you go and you party and you have fun, and these are days when you could have literally just slept on the beach, Troy.
Yes, man.
Like, if that's where the night caught you, that's where sleep caught you, that's where you're going to sleep, and there was no danger, there was no fear, you felt safe, And now it's just not that way, and for me, I think that it's senseless, because you go and you try to rob somebody of their hard-earned money, because you don't want to work, because you can't tell me, Troy, that it's a case where you can't find job.
Yeah.
Because when I went to San Pedro and I saw that there's a lot of construction happening on that island, and the minister said that there is an issue. Said that's the scene where it happened last night, Troy. From a distance, if you zoom in, which we're not going to zoom in, but because there's a body on the ground, and I wasn't able to blur that in time. So, but if you zoom in, that's the entrance or the front portion of the supermarket. and the body is lying right by the entrance, right?
And
One of the
one of the
bodies.
security guard
Correct.
as well, who was working, was obviously might be a husband, a father, a
Of
son,
course.
a brother, uncle.
And so we learned from the minister that day that one of the things that kept back the construction of the hospital that the timeline was extended is a shortage of labor, because you don't find a lot of people wanting to do hard labor, manual labor like construction work. So they have to import workers from Central America, right? And so you can't say that it's because jobs aren't available. Because Troy, when when you're in my generation, in our generation, when you're growing up, you start from the bottom. Nobody just woke up. I didn't wake up one day and became news director.
No.
I started working on weekends as a radio announcer. I afterwards did part-time in sales, and you work your way up. And eventually, I got into the newsroom, and well, here I am now. But this is after years of putting in the work and making the sacrifices, because there were many times I didn't get to attend a PTA meeting. There were many times when you miss, certain milestones from your children because you have to work later, you have to work weekends. There were a lot of sacrifices made to get where I am now. This doesn't happen overnight, and I think that there's an element in this generation where they don't want to work from the ground up. They want to just be put into an office or put
Well, they
into
don't
a
want
big
to,
salary
they don't want to
or
work, period.
And-
Not in any position. Just
and
period.
I find it disheartening. So anyway, after I had that meeting with the minister, and he told me about that shortage in labor, the following week we had an SIB, I think it was conference, was it? No, the Department of Labor had a public awareness session the entire week, and they themselves were talking that people are applying for labor permits, for employment permits, to migrate workers, to import workers,
Yeah.
to
Banana,
import migrant workers.
sugar cane, citrus, all those
Construction,
industries,
all these-
construction are short of workers.
Exactly. So if you see we have to import workers, clearly you don't want
And
to
you can't
work.
get the office job because you never want to go to school.
You never want to go to
You
school.
never want to go to school. So don't give me no excuse again. And even right now, education, for the most part, your
Free.
tuition is free, your uniform is there, your books is
You
there.
get a meal a day.
So
What that excuse now? Because I have sat at this, I have sat in the newsroom, I have sat behind microphones where the excuse is always, oh, no job, not a government, not giving no job. Oh, I can't afford to pay school. So what the excuse now? Education free practically. You understand?
somebody said probably for the first time in this country there are jobs and work in every industry in Belize. Frankly, the drug trade and cartel disrupting young men in particular, wanting to get easy money from what type of these dangerous activity. We need to confront this evil. So
Yeah, so you can't tell me that no job. So you just go and rob the man because you want easy money.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, and so I think it's ridiculous because now you have 2 people dead, 2 families in mourning, by extension, friends and what have you.
Not
Because
only,
you
not,
just
not
never
only
want
that,
work.
it is the stigma that ripples throughout the economy, that ripples throughout the society, ripples throughout the globe, because this then leads, and it affects everything else thereafter. And you point out the whole nightlife of San Pedro being majorly adjusted. We think of Belize City, we grew up with Albert Street and show window shopping and all of these things. That can't even exist now, and that not for us to be ultra nostalgic. It is to say that's what progressive society continues to have. So it's not unique that we would want that for ourselves. And we have to establish the political will to deal with this problem. We can't continue to think that we can piecemeal our way through. It is a global phenomenon.
But Troy, is it really, here's a question for you. Is it really political will, Troy? Let me tell you why.
Okay.
I could remember years ago Dean Barrow brought about this concept of preventative detention. The people went crazy. The human rights group came out, this group came out. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Da, 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 da. All right. We never gone through
With
with it.
preventative detention is a Bukele model.
Yes, we never gone through with it because the
Ahead of
people
time. Barrow was ahead of Bukele.
Yes, Barrow was ahead of Bukele, but we never gone through with it because the people argued. The people fought against it,
Okay.
right? And that's what we essentially what a democracy means. When the people stand up, the elected representatives have to take a step back. And so they stood up against it. Now you have the SOE, which is tantamount to the same thing, a little less
Temporary.
harsh than what the preventative measures would have been. The preventative detention, sorry. And now we complain about the SOE, right? But when there's an SOE, I feel a lot calmer. I feel a lot safer. But I'm asking you this, is it really the political will? Because in Belize City in particular, you hear Chester Williams, you hear the previous commissioner, and we know that that's the same situation this commissioner is facing, where people know who the gunmen are. People know who the killers are. But are you going to go and give a statement to the police? Are you going to take the witness stand in a courtroom? People in these areas, even the gunmen family members know who these
But
people are,
that's why
because they take home what they make.
that's why I said
So is it really, no, my question is it really the political will? Because then at the end of the day, the people are not
well,
cooperate either.
the state have a responsibility.
Well, you
The
have to
state-
force the people there for
No, the state has a responsibility, as you pointed out. If it is that the state know who are the perpetrators,
I feel s-
that is what the state does, and that is why why I say political will is political will mean that it doesn't matter how much the public push back. This is what I'm going to do.
Yes, Troy, but what about the part where the people who know who these gunmen are, the people who know who these killers are,
Well, they don't have a political
their
will.
testimony,
It is-
no,
it
that's
is-
why I'm asking you, man, Lord,
Yeah.
is it really just political will that we need? And the reason I said that, and I gave you example, because politicians have tried to put measures in place to try and make the place safer.
But what I'm saying
But
here-
on the other end, you have to look at prosecution to permanently put these people behind
That
bars.
is
you
if
need
you
proper
want to use
prosecution.
the system. What Barrow implemented, what Bukele implemented, they dispel themselves of what that due process is. They said, listen, I'm not going to go through this due process. I'm going to be more draconian in my approach. That's political will, saying that amidst all of the noise, I am going to do what I think is right for the society, and I'm going to take this hard line. Bukele had pushed back like crazy. Oh my
Bukele
God,
did-
he had pushed back like you can't believe.
No, I heard him. He did a reflection on the early days on the pushback
yes,
and
yes.
all of that. And now Salvador is one of the safest places you could walk.
Everybody is giving
Tourism
him
is
the
booming.
rocket treatment. You know, so the point is this.
Boy, I don't know.
Is-
That was very that
Because
was tight
remember
rope.
when we were doing SOEs, those are band-aid
Yeah, of
situation.
course.
They're just temporary. They have no permanency built into the system. Now, I don't advocate for it because I always believe in free will. But again, it comes back to a point where if free will is going tantamount to the direction of going against the grain, going up, stop, going against the traffic, which is what we are seeing, is that everybody gets up every morning and tries to do right by themselves, by their family, by the society. Everybody has done that right now. We see thousands of kids going to school every morning. Some people braving the weather, some people catching bus from early, they're up, all kind of thing they're doing, trying to get an education because they believe that's the equalizer to poverty. And then we have those persons, a few of them, who are deciding that we're going to be menace to society, we're going to wreak havoc on this society, we're going to disrupt everything because we don't want to make that sacrifice. And we're going to leech off those persons who are doing good. And that is the area. I don't want nobody can tell me about no minister and who the thief, the government. That is cop. That's a cop out. We deal with that in our own way. That's why there's a political system for that. And we go down that road. The bottom line is, what are we going to do about all of these problems that we're having as a society? Because the way how society is dealing with it is not working. And everywhere we look, it has to be done in a much more draconian way in order for you to corral that horse that has already gotten out of the stable, already out of the corral. So we will have to decide what it is, what kind of society we want to continue to have. Because all we'll get is a huge discussion about nostalgia of how it used to be, and then we're going to be lamenting, and at the end of the day, it's going to continue to affect our society. It's going to cost us more insecurity. We want to know why things are so expensive? Because we have to pay actual police for mine store. Imagine that. How ridiculous. When that would have ever happened under the colonial system? Never. Because they would have checkmate that right away. And we should have checkmated a long time ago.
So the leader of the opposition issued a statement. I got unblocked on WhatsApp, by the way.
Oh my. That was stupid to block you in the first place.
Anyway,
You block out the media.
I was blocked for a while.
Block out the media.
Anyway, so the leader of the opposition issued a statement and said, "A nation in crisis, a nation under siege," from the desk of the leader of the opposition. Belize is under siege by crime and violence, and the nation can no longer pretend otherwise. The recent double murder in San Pedro, coupled with the tragic killing of 16-year-old Isaiah Norales in Dangriga, is a painful and unmistakable indication that Belize is a nation in crisis. The UDP joins the people of San Pedro and Dangriga and all Belizeans in mourning the tragic and senseless murders of members of their community. The UDP once more issues urgent plea to Prime Minister John Briceño and his cabinet. The people of Belize need action. We need strategic leadership within the police department. We need to know that this government fully recognizes the gravity of this national crisis and is prepared to confront it with urgency, courage, and determination. The violence consuming our nation does not wear party colors. The bullets do not ask whether someone is POP or UDP, rich or poor, black or white, young or old. They strike our children, our friends, our neighbors, our families. No one is immune. The UDP reiterates that we stand ready to be part of the solution this nation desperately seeks. Crime and violence are everyone's problem and must become everyone's priority. We will support any genuine efforts aimed at protecting Belizean lives, restoring public safety, rebuilding public confidence in our law enforcement agencies, strengthening law enforcement, and bringing back peace on the streets. And it goes on and on and on and on with political rhetoric, and then it says, "We express our condolences to the families who have lost loved ones. May the souls of the dearly departed rest in peace." So that's from the UDP.
Yeah. The fundamental issue here is, and granted, they have a job to do and do that. But one of the things I continue to want to hear and continue to try to listen for are solutions. Right now, seemingly the only tool we have left in everybody's toolbox is the Bukele model. Because I think society have run out of options, society as a whole. We saw even in the United States, they had to apply dictatorship methods to clean up certain cities in Washington, D.C. and other. Put the army on the street.
They're bringing the National Guard.
Yes,
now.
put the army on the street. Imagine the bastion of democracy could not control the crime situation in certain areas as well. So the point I'm making, it is a global phenomenon. It is not unique only to Belize. Worse in the Caribbean.
Because we're still stuck on the hope that mediation and this LIU intervention and all that is going to work, but we've been doing this for years. We've been trying to do this for years because LIU is just a reinvention of other efforts or other groups that have been made.
We go back to 1991. There was a crimes commission. We go back to the 93 to 98 UDP government that formed CYDP, Conscious Youth Development Program, trying to get those young people engaged in work. Remember, there was huge infrastructure work that was going on within Belize City. They were building sidewalks and improving the streets and all of that. And and getting them to work. So all of that are effort. And so how much years have elapsed since then? 35 years, and we are still having the same conversation 2 minutes after
Actually,
7.
it's
though.
worse than it was 35 years.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. 2 minutes after 7, we take the break and we come back and continue the conversation.
It's not just cigarettes. Vapes, hookahs, cigars, and other tobacco products all release harmful smoke and toxic chemicals. When you smoke or vape, that cloud doesn't just disappear. It becomes secondhand smoke and turns breathing.
It's now 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. Renee, it's you know, I hope by now, if you're up, you already got your coffee or your tea or whatever beverage you get to ignite you, and maybe getting a breakfast at the same time. And I'm glad that you could join us as well. And you know, while we try to discuss things in the most positive light, you know, I hate talking about crime situation.
You know,
It is
Troy,
not
I
my
was
most
thinking, I was doing
best
some
moments.
research on my phone because I remembered you talking about the fire. And it's very interesting because one other person texted me and one person said that the motive is not robbery. That the motive is based on some sort of financial dispute
Oh my.
over the
There we go again.
over that store itself,
Oh,
the
yeah?
opening of that store.
Well, we
And
hope.
so when that person texted me, I did a little research and I realized that you were right about the fire. The curious thing about that is that the fire happened shortly after the store was open. And they rebuilt it. And they recently opened, and now you have the shooting. So the person who texted me said that this is more like a hit.
It looks more like
It looks more like a hit than it was a robbery. And so we'll wait and see what the police will say in today's press brief in terms of the motive of that shooting last night.
because
But
it-
we know that the security guard, Daniel Jones, he got killed. He was one of the victims, as well as one of the owners of the store, Yaya David Harmouche. And the other two injured are Ayman and Ahmad Harmouche.
Okay, so
Right,
four
were
persons
shot.
were shot.
Two died,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
the other two.
And anybody
brothers
know
were
the
shot.
name Harmouche is very popular
On San Pedro, of
as
course, yes.
business people. Part of that, I don't know if you call them Arab Lebanese community. I'm not quite sure what the nationality is. I just kind of lump them together for the time being. But the fundamental issue here, and again, the police always will come under the spotlight because, you know, unfortunately, they can't be everywhere all the time and know exactly what persons are planning and conniving to be able to prevent it. You know, we have no pre-crime structure in place. Sometimes they're able to thwart certain events if they get the proper intelligence, but sometimes they're not exposed to the intelligence, so they won't be able to thwart it. But the issue here is that they're going to, again, say they beef up security in San Pedro and blah, 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 blah.
It's the usual thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
yeah.
that brings me now to Friday. I had a conversation with Julius Espat on Friday. Also did an interview with him, and if you know
Somebody
Julius, you know
text me
that.
say Love FM block them. Let me say for the public, nobody Love FM block nobody. Nobody. So stop that foolishness. No text me with that nonsense anymore. Love FM blocks nobody. Every call when we open the lines, we don't have no number where we know
Oh, no, we not block.
we know block nobody from calling. So not spread that rumor. That's a terrible rumor. We don't even know who is calling. We accept it as a privilege that we open the lines whenever we open it. So don't say anybody block you. You want to come on air and whatever you want to talk about, we allow you to say it as long as you're not defaming or scandaling people. So I want to put that out there because sometimes people like to say these things and it irritates me because I believe that we're the only station. I am one of the persons who are very supportive of opening lines because I want to hear what everybody is saying, whether it's pro or con, whatever the discussion is. Let's have it out there and we'll have a discussion because that's how we get better.
Amen.
Yeah, Renee. Amen.
So he met on Friday morning at Queen Street Police Station with the commanders of Eastern Division. And he's doing his rounds, he's doing his tours in terms of meeting with these people to find out, you know, what the system is like, what's the current strategy, what's going on in the department as the interim minister. And I think that he's making some strides, and the first thing he did, look at what he did, he canceled or he pulled back on the whole internal process against Alberto Agas, and he said, you know what, take that to the DPP. That's the DPP's job, you know. As a matter of fact, Will, I think we have it in Friday's folder, where Julius and Alberto August, where he spoke about that, the reason why he did that, and he hasn't had according to him, he hasn't had a chance to review the entire Budna file, so he hasn't made a decision in terms of where he wants to go with that. But one of the things he said to me, he said, Renee, he said, you can't expect law enforcement officers to be looking after the country if you're not looking after them. Okay, one second. And so the thing of it with that is that he spoke about the police morale, right? And I think that was very crucial. He said from a simple thing where, and you and I have seen this, you go to a checkpoint at the night and they have to use the light from the flashlight from their cell phone. You know, and so he's saying from the simple thing like a flashlight, they're not providing our police officers with. You know, he said you have to provide the resources. He said because it can't be a one-sided relationship where you're not giving them the proper tools to work with, and then you expect them to perform. He said that's being ridiculous. And so that's one of the things that he will be lobbying to the Prime Minister for in due course, in terms of funds to ensure that these resources are there. And even the condition, and as he was talking, I said, oh, we have an architect. That's perfect. The condition of some of these police stations. Unfortunately, 3 months is a very short time. You're not sure what can be done in 3 months. I asked him if he would be willing to take up the mantle permanently. You know, if Prime Minister comes and says, you know what, well, you're doing such a good job at Home Affairs. So he laughed and he said, let's talk about that in 3 months' time. Right, but it's like he said.
Because the MIRA audit, the audit on the whole MIRA's contracts and probably other part of the financial operations within the Ministry of Defense and Border Security and maybe other ministries might be ongoing. That will reveal substantially where the Prime Minister goes next in terms of his decision. So I think that's...
But do we have to wait until that, Troy? Because I was a bit disappointed when they asked the media asked Prime Minister if he thinks Oscar Mira is still politically viable, and Prime Minister expressed such passionate support for Oscar Mira, and I was like, wow, here we are. The people are upset because of the optics of this entire thing. And you are coming now to the media expressing this passionate support for Oscar Mira. It makes me wonder, you know, why would you do something like that?
Just a segue quick.
Even if there is no, even if the audit shows that there's no proof of wrongdoing, wait until the audit comes out before you make such a declaration. Because at the end of the day, you're essentially slapping the Belizean people in the face when you're expressing that sort of passionate support for Oscar Mira, when right now he is under major scrutiny for abusing his powers, for allegedly abusing his powers to enrich his family members. And while that may not be the case, it's like what Dean Barrow said, legal guilt and factual guilt are two different things.
Yeah.
But right now the optics is bad. And
Yeah.
for the Prime Minister to come out and say, yes, like, wow, really?
Many youths have lived without seeing anybody work. Many households depends on easy money through Western Union. No work, but money come in. That's a segue quick. But coming back to the Prime Minister's statement, I always try to look at all the lens, because the Prime Minister is a politician first and foremost, because people tend to forget that a politician thinks in votes. He looks and he says, I need 16 men if I want to continue to be Prime Minister. Election is on or about 3.5 years away. He says to himself, and I guess maybe with his confidant, how if I blow up and destroy Mira today, in whatever way, prematurely, in whatever way, shape, or form, that's 1 out of my 16. I don't know how much I'll be able to get when the election comes, but I need 16. Is he still viable as a political person? That's a view a politician looks at. Now, is he viable to be in my cabinet? That's a different story when the audit comes. Because remember, the Prime Minister can't move a sitting representative, that can only be moved either by the person resigning, by having some mental issue across the floor, or a by-election, a recall, and then go to a by-election. But otherwise than that, the Prime Minister has power over that individual by virtue of putting him in cabinet. Does Mira deserve the right to get back in my cabinet? That's a different story later when that time comes.
Troy,
But right
I
now,
understand what you're saying.
he thinks as a politician.
No, Troy. I don't care how the Prime Minister think. At the end of the day, he needs to understand that he holds the highest seat in this country. And so if you're going to talk from a party leader perspective, you need to balance that from a prime ministerial perspective as well. So if you want to say politically, yes, I believe Oscar Mira is still viable and whatever, then that's fine. But you also need to complement that with, but I'm disappointed. Let the Belizean people feel that you are feeling what we're feeling, that you understand where we're coming from. Because while, yes, you're a politician, and while, yes, you are the party leader for the PUP, you're also our Prime Minister. And we need to know, and we need that assurance that you understand where our anger and our upset is coming from. You understand? But if you're just going to comment about, yes, he's still in the midst of what is happening.
What are we upset about?
That you need to create
no, but what it is that we are really upset about, because so far we said we need are we upset because there are a lot of $10,000 payment?
Troy,
because are we yet established?
Hey man, one thing at a time. I'm talking about what the Prime Minister said.
But you say we are upset.
We're upset about a lot of things.
Yeah, but what is it
I
that
am
we're upset
talking
with
about
Mira?
this specific comment. Not try skirt with friends.
No, but you're saying
because
we are upset.
there are a lot of moving parts, Troy. There's not just one. Not just one.
No, yes.
But the most recent
but
one when
let's
the
zero
Prime
in
Minister.
on your
No,
statement, man. You don't want to talk
I am
about the
talking
statement.
about what the Prime
said the
Minister
people are
said.
upset.
I am talking
What
about
are we
that. How
upset
you mean
about?
I don't want to talk about it? Another time
Are we
talk about
upset
that.
because we believe that they never follow the protocol, that they do the latter 10,000? What it is that makes us upset? Did we not get value for money? What it is that we're upset about? Or we're just upset because we just hear it? That's the question I'm asking because we're saying, I am not upset yet because I wait. I'm not upset yet.
You're not going to be upset either, Troy, at any point.
No, I have.
Regardless of what the audit is, you're not going to be upset.
You bet you will hear my voice loud and clear if it is that the process wasn't followed properly. Right now, I always believe I believe in due process. You know. I go back to my earlier statement.
You funny, but anyway.
I believe in due process.
Let me continue, please.
Go ahead.
So, I believe that when the Prime Minister responded, he needed to respond. If you're going to respond from a political standpoint as the leader of the PUP, fine, acceptable. But you also understand what your role of Prime Minister is, and you needed to complement that statement to share with the Belizean people that you understand where our frustration and our anger is coming from. It's not just about whether he's politically viable. That political viability is confined only to Belmopan. Whether his voters will still vote him in, whether he's still politically viable in Belmopan. But nationwide, you have a bigger cross-section of people who are upset because of what happened, because of the revelations of these screenshots, because of the revelations of these payments. And we need to know that our Prime Minister understands where we're coming from, why we're upset. So yes, he's politically viable in Belmopan. It's confined to only that because politics is local, right? But from a nationwide perspective, which the Prime Minister represents, every single one of us across the country, I needed to hear from him that you understand where we're coming from. We're upset.
Okay.
We're upset that this entire family received so much money that it's coming out through screenshots because of the payments. And maybe it's not so much because of the money that they receive, but the optics of it. You understand?
Well, that's why I asked you the question.
Because I know of one company, I want to tell you this, and I said I wasn't going to say this.
Because I could get a contract to go on road for $100 million. And
I know of one company that had contracts with government, right? And after elections came in, one of those very siblings came up to the workers at that contracted company and said, pack up your things from here because we did take over.
Okay.
And that person lost all the government contracts, or most of it, not all, most of the government contracts, and the contracts went to one of the Mira family members.
Okay.
And so when that person, and I knew of this from the time it happened, not just now when there are screenshots to come out. And that's why I was able to make that comment last year before elections that Mira was on a high horse. If you remember, before elections last year, I made that comment. And I said certain things are happening in Belmopan that should not be happening. But I never had no proof, so I can't come out because they will sue me. But I said it from last year before elections because people were talking and the rumblings were happening in Belmopan. And because I also knew a person who lost contracts that were then taken away from them and given to one of the Mira family members. So I knew of all of that was happening. But in this game, a lot of people like say, why the media not do this? Why? Because we not got proof. And if you not got proof, you don't get sued. Right? And worse remember when the government did that thing with Belize Companies Registry, where you can no longer freely go research who own which company or whatever. We were limited by that as well, because you can't. I used to go in, some days I used to literally go to sit down the company's registry and get my info for know who own this, who the shareholder yet. Now you no longer have access to that information, right? So if you don't have proof, you can't come pa no media and say things because you don't get sued. So the point that I was making, Troy, is that I am upset, and I think this is what people are upset about. And yes, the audit might reveal that, you know what, nothing was done. But even the FinSec said it last week, Troy. The FinSec said in an interview that we did that that's not the way the system was designed to be. For have all of the under $10,000 payments, and in one day you pay $250,000 out.
I think he went
with
farther. He said
44 invoices. It doesn't look good.
He said it went farther to say it doesn't look good.
And the cabinet last week directed that a revision of the procurement process be done to tighten up, to block whatever loopholes you could block. So yes, kudos to that decision. Hopefully it rings true.
Well, remember, the way how you look at at this overall system, everybody would have to say it's an abuse of that component of the financial orders and structure.
Yes.
Because if you're in a ministry and you wanted to say buy a fund or two funds for an area that maybe the AC broke down, and before you could get it sorted, you would need to buy two funds for the staff or for where the public comes. That takes forever to meander through the system. So they give you certain sort of like a petty cash structure kind of system. Anything under 10,000, go ahead and you could pay it on the fly. And so you could get those products. That is how the system was kind of designed. Buy a tire bus or so for the vehicle or need a quick repair or a part or something. And so you could pay that on the fly. Now, what they did with the system, and that is why I said from early, what are we upset about is because we see this drip of 10,000. So that is where I try to zero in.
The problem is, Troy, it's not only one person. Because remember, initially it was Jenny Mira that we saw these. And then screenshots started coming out with Brand Mira, with the other Mira, with the construction, the fast construction company, MP Fresh Farms, and then you had FT Williams. We had some screenshots that came out last week with FT Williams, which we know is the husband to one of the Mira, to one of the Mira siblings. And so then you start seeing a pattern in all of these screenshots, the very same under $9,000 pattern across the board. So where did that come from? Where did that idea come from to break down these invoices for all of these
Remember, you have
siblings?
to have collusion within the public service.
And that's what the FinSec said. Thank you for saying that word.
Yes.
The FinSec said clearly there was collusion.
There have to be collusion.
Had to have been. So now that brings me back to the other thing. So the finance officer that was there in that period has been placed on leave, right? I'm not going to call his name, but he has been placed on leave. I know that the Auditor General's department had been going in defense from the first set of screenshots came out. That just was not announced. And so these are the things where government dropped the ball. Because from the time the auditor got in, there should have been a statement.
That way they do an audit.
We're doing an
instantly.
audit. Instead, what? You had to wait till 2 weeks later when the clamoring got louder and louder for you to say, oh, we've ordered. And no, from the time the auditor, because the auditor, they in there for about 3 weeks now, you know. They gather documents
Well,
and
well,
whatnot, but the government should have come to the
two
people and
things.
said, this is what we're doing. You wait till the noise gets so loud for try to damage control and say, oh, we've ordered an
Well,
audit.
we've always said that government, especially under this administration, had been slow to get in front of the story. All the time I've said that from day one. But the point is this, is that one fear I have, because sometimes when these audits, nobody move, nobody get hurt kind of mentality, then the soldiers they don't get feed. So I hope that we don't go down that kind of pathway and create more confusion for the system. So we have to figure out what is going to be interim while we're doing the audit, as they say, while the grass to grow, the heart starving, because you can't stop feeding the soldiers because you do an audit. Because remember, all of these things I'm going to be looking for coming out of the audit. One, was these monies budgeted for, first and foremost. Second, was there actual procurement process, meaning you put out a tender, you got bids, and you did your comparative analysis, and you were able to come up with who you consider to be the best provider for that service. All of that I want to see listed in that audit. And then I want to see what explanation could have been derived why you felt that you need to do 600 or 6,000 or whatever number you want of these $10,000 entry. Is it just so that people get their money quickly? And yes, you abuse that structure. And so we lost no money. Did we get value for money? Who vetted when these products came in? And what did we receive? And each time that you claim that you made deliveries so that you could claim payment on these invoices, all of that, that's supposed to be a document so fat, no? That your head's supposed to hurt you when you read it. That's what I'm looking for. And maybe because of my whole background, make me look at these things with less emotion attached, because of the fact that I want to know what went through your mind, Mr. F.O., as a financial officer who is one of the signing off entity. Why you felt compelled to have done so much? What it is. And not only that, Rene, are other ministries conducting themselves in like manner? That's also is a question mark that I have. Because other ministries, if I am a minister right now, boy, don't jump on my CEO one time and say, boy, go check and make sure we follow this thing properly, you know, because you don't want to fall trapped to none of these issues. Because the issue here is why did the public officer see fit to facilitate? Because there has to be facilitation, as the FS says. There had to have been collusion within the system. The system don't work by itself. I'm not bring a $10,000 invoice and it just happened that the payment happened by magic. Somebody has to be pressing buttons, reading invoices, understanding, and you're seeing it. So this is an orchestrated plan to get people their money quicker without the red tape. Now, why did you do that? And that is the revelation, I hope. 29 minutes to 8 o'clock, you got to be at work at 8. You better start moving, otherwise you will be late. We'll take a break and come right back.
Good morning, Belize. Earlier this morning, a few showers affected mostly central parts of the country, decreasing at daybreak. Generally fair weather conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast, sunny with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy at times tonight. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated, with a few more likely occurring mostly over southern and some central areas late tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 94 inland, and 82 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will drop to around 79 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 inland, and 67 up in the hills. The winds will be from the east at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea conditions will be light sharp. A high tide will occur this morning at 3 minutes after 9, followed by a low tide this evening at 4:46, another high tide tonight at 10:48, and another low tide early tomorrow morning at 3:27. The sun will set this evening at 6:31 and will rise early tomorrow morning at 5:21. The moon will rise this evening at 6:36 and will set early tomorrow morning at 5:45. The outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night: cloudy at times with a few showers and thunderstorms occurring around the country on Tuesday. Then shower activity will decrease and become isolated Tuesday night, except for the south where a few more are expected. In the tropical weather outlook, tropical cyclone formation is not expected over our area during the next 48 hours. For a review of our forecast and other products, please visit our website at
It's now 22 minutes to 8 o'clock, and like I said before the break, you got to be at work at 8 and you're not there yet. You might be late. Renee,
School closed this week?
For
some,
yeah. Renee, I just want to say before, I just want to share my condolences and best wishes to the people of Venezuela. Reference the massive earthquake that continues to wreak havoc down there. So Venezuela has been a good friend of Belize, especially through the Petrocarib structure, and we certainly, our prayers are with them, and we wish them,
we definitely need to
continued
talk
and
about that,
success,
yes, but
as well. But coming back to the primary issue that we are talking about, that seems to be on the forefront of everybody's discussion, is the whole issue of the possible corruption citing. Certainly, from an optic standpoint, it's bad politics, bad everything. And I would dare say, if I was in the Prime Minister's shoe, I would be most pissed. And I'm sure he is. I mean, any politician would be. Even supporters would be pissed because they would say, man, I work so hard, we put a government in power, and then you squander it.
Yeah.
You squander that political capital with nonsense.
The thing of it is, I expected that kind of anger from him, that kind of
Well,
outrage.
let's say-
Hold on. But then I got it from Julius instead.
Yeah.
I got it from Cordell off the record in terms of, this is not good. This affects all of us.
Yes,
This
I would be
is not
pissed.
a one-man show. This is all the way they get affected, and this is what they're saying. This is how they're feeling, because this is not a one-man thing. The entire cabinet gets a black eye on this situation. You understand? And Julius went on record as well, and Julius said it. He said, because remember, he's also chairperson of the Western Caucus, right? Oscar falls under the Western Caucus. So not only is he talking from a cabinet perspective, but also from the caucus perspective as the head of the West, and he's upset. He's pissed off. You don't do this kind of thing. You don't,
Yeah.
And that's because you're talking about Julius, who has been in this for many years. I haven't heard any scandal at all come out from Julius. I haven't heard. You have certain ministers that are in this, like Francis, and they for many, many years, and you don't have their level of scandal coming out from the corners. And now Oscar Mira, relatively young in terms of electoral politics, and bam.
Well, it's the drip that makes up this accumulation, because I'm sure there are areas from time to time that you would have your level of question mark, but sometimes one-off and these things. I'm not saying that nothing is acceptable, but the last time we were here, we were talking about a couple other things last week.
But there's always an exception to a rule. Sometimes you have to bend the rules because of urgent situations or unforeseeable factors. Yes, we all bend the rules. Every single one of we bend the rules.
Well,
you understand? Every now and again, when I find myself in a little pickle, yes, don't give me a ticket, but sometimes a horse skirt through up stop for try get where they try. We all bend the rules. Not to say that is the ideal thing to do, but this is a pattern, Troy. This is not bending the rule one
Somebody said that
time.
Oscar Mira is the chairman of the Western Caucus.
Oh, ma'am, that make it worse. Well, that make it worse. All right, thank you for that clarification.
That's what
I thought it
I've
was
been told.
Julius. But you understand what it said? This is not bending the rule one time. Their screenshots show that this is a pattern that has been going on. This isn't a one-time bending the rule. But let me ask you this. Andre Perez said last week that he feels that government should up the threshold of $10,000 to $20,000, considering that cost of living, the services and products are no longer what it used to be. So that $10,000 is a drop in the bucket, really and truly. And so he feels that threshold should be increased. What do you think about that?
You need to deal with government money. There has to be a check and balance. And I believe that the whole concept of the 10,000 is the concept of a petty cash. You know, carry the petty cash way up in order to circumvent the system. I don't, at this point in time, whether you will take it up to 20, it doesn't matter what threshold you use, they would have just used it operate right under that threshold. So for me, the
So
discussion
the
is not
invoice would
about
have
the
been
value.
19. You know what I mean?
Be 19 something or 29 something if that 30. So what I'm
But
saying,
sure, do you think we could ever? I don't, in my mind,
I don't
and I
see
could
the
be
need
wrong.
to take it up because I understand why it was there in the first place. And because I understand why it was there to be able to deal with some of the same things that you're talking about, the exigencies that pops up that are minimal. So you don't so you don't end up hold up the system because I can't buy one screw or I can't buy one or $2 bolt. Because it doesn't mean it is up to 10,000, you know, per transaction. So you could take on, you need 2 quick AC to be installed. Most persons not got huge cash flow in a small business, so you need a man to install 2 quick AC. You need to pay him very quickly. You could be able to purchase those AC and get that done. And once it was under 10,000, you restore back the service that you are providing. And I'm just using those as examples. So if you take it up, then they will just, if it's abuse that's happening, it will only continue in that same vein at a higher level. So you'll see so much hundreds of 19,000 as your point, 19,990 as opposed to 9,990. So I hear what the minister is saying, but
Check your WhatsApp, William, please.
I don't know that would make any difference.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to,
would
you're
make
weighing
any
on that because
difference.
I don't have an opinion here or there about it. I just thought,
And this is the worst time to even think about trying to adjust that because people is so already skeptical about the system itself that this is a way that you're trying to close the gate. You're trying to corral, try to open it up for bigger abuse. You kind of try to close the gate.
I find it interesting,
Anything over
Troy.
10,000, we need to go through the proper process of vetting.
I find it interesting to that. Like, for example, this finance officer that accommodated this system, this payout system, right? Has been in the government system, the government service for so long that it have to go through a series, as you well know, for get any kind of punishment. You understand the Public Service Commission, all of that you have to go through when you're in a service.
Well, there's due process for public officers, and I always talk about due process because that's when you hear public officer do something and get away, that because due process was not followed. You have to follow the due process because you end up in a situation where the balance of probability leans towards the public officer because you never do the thing right. The public service regulation is very clear. And I made the point last week when we were having the discussion reference what claims were being made by the president of the Public Service Union, and I made the point for him to be fair because he needs to understand that the public service is governed by a regulation and there's a process that you have to go through. If it is that you suspect a public officer or there's some sort of evidence that is uncovered, you have to go through a process where he gets to explain and so you have to make sure you follow those steps because then that becomes a legal issue at some point in time if you don't follow, because natural justice, we have to put that in quotation, has to be followed by virtue of the public service regulation. And then, but you will get them. If you do it right, that public officer will come up, and once the evidence is there, you're going home. And in some cases, if you're dismissed from the public service, you go home without access to your pension. So those are some of the penalties. So a public officer like this, if it's found to be culpable, and the evidence is there glaring, now whom he going?
Let's do the interview with Julius, a portion of it.
Sure.
I don't think we should be. I don't think any person in power should utilize his power for something that is annoying you at the moment. I think we all fall into that trap. I have done it many times and I have failed every time I have done it. Either at home or at school or in regular everyday activities. I have tried to learn that you need to sit back and listen to advice and find a better solution. The decision was based on the fact that we believe that the DPP is the the person constitutionally mandated to make a decision if it's frivolous or not. And I believe we have to give all leaders of their different organizations within the government the respect that's due to them.
Yeah, so we're back. And that was an interview, as we were talking, referenced the case that the complaint that was made by Oscar Mira against Alberto Agas. Like I've said, we've discussed this here back when it first occurred, when he was arrested over the weekend. And we felt that it was much ado about nothing. Yes, he had his constitutional right and so on, but in the vein of things that I didn't felt that it met the threshold, and I also didn't feel that it was necessary to give so much credence to that individual post. And in addition to that, you're a public figure, and so I mean, what do you know say about me and you? I don't like Julius, you know. I kind of like. I'm here because I want here, and it goes with the territory.
And
you know.
interestingly, what Julius said
And
as
Julius,
well.
you ask people to vote for you and become public figures. So if you get in at the crosshairs, you get the venom, and it might just be temporary, and maybe they take it down, and so. But Alberto hasn't shied away from who he is and what he does. I mean, he's been a stone. He's not my brother. He used to be a stone in my shoe too, you know. But I didn't take none of these things. I don't take anything personal, and I'll be quite honest with you. I didn't felt that Mira should have taken it. I mean, we see where we are now, but I mean.
Well, Prime Minister said he hoped Mira learned a lesson.
You know, I mean, for me.
A very horrible lesson, but.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the Prime Minister would also say that Mira would have the right to do what he do. But for me, I felt that, you know, I think Andre Perez made the point as well, you know, let's get over it, we move on. I mean, people have you see, when you're in those positions, you're in positions where you have to either make decisions or participate in certain things. When we're here, I pass my opinion on certain things. It may not be something that other people
You know
support.
what I think make the optics worse, though? Just to wrap up this whole Oscar Mira thing, because I'm tired of that. What makes it even worse is that he came in on a campaign in Belmopan crucifying John Saldivar for the whole Lev Derman and the money thing and, you know, the tranches and all of that. And he came in on that wave. And here you are taking the Belmopan people for Konomono because it's tantamount to the same thing.
Well, politicians have always sometimes violated their mantra. And
This is for his first term, right?
second.
This is his second term? Okay.
He came in
Right,
on
right.
2020.
Election I'm last say, right.
Yeah, this is the second
Right.
term. And if you go back to, and I always say this, if you go back to the 1998, 2008 PUP government, it's always governments get in trouble in their second term. Dean Barrow got away because he shortened the term.
He did, yes. I think
Right.
they were like 3 years.
Yeah. He fit 3 almost in a two term, just so that the records could show he went 3. But he shortened it and tried to came in at a time where he got lucky with the Petrocarib money and things like that. But the fundamental issue here is that they started to crack in the second term with the Kim Wong Hong and all of these things, and that's when they actually started to unravel and collapse, and then subsequently they snuck in 2015 in an election coming right after that high deluge of storm and what have you, but that we experienced in that October month, because remember the election was November the 4th. So we have precedents that in your second term, some of your chicken come home to roost. So the same thing is happening as we see deja vu, 1998, 2008. We're seeing it now with the 2020 second term. Here we have this sort of revelation, you know. And so, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it is that one little item, that one little straw that breaks the camel back. So you always have to be careful as a political party where you don't give no ammunition to your opponents and for traction to come up. So governments have to always, when you're in power, tread lightly on certain issues that you just can't ignore certain issues. You have to deal with it straight on, because after a while, it starts to snowball on you. And then before you know it, you can't stop the roll.
Because this is not what it used to be pre-social media. You know, this is not where you could sweep things under the rug and you blow over like Libris. And no, because social media allows you to pong and pong and pong and push and push and push the situation. And the thing of it is that it spreads even faster. So even if you don't consume news, you consume social media, and so all of their screenshots and all of their reports, they go viral instant with the snap of a finger.
Well,
And so I think it's important for government to understand and recognize that you have to make an effort, and we keep saying this, and this might actually be their downfall, you know. The same lack of not getting ahead of certain situations and certain stories. You have to be able to do that.
see,
You can't wait until crap hit the fan, and then after that you try scurry and try think, okay, what I could say, what I could do. No. You need for nip it in at the butt. You need for, address it right away.
this new digital divide that we're in, where spontaneousness is required, we have to always be even from the opposition standpoint, the government standpoint, you have to have your quote-unquote war room structure in place continuously. Governments, when they're in opposition, they're aggressive, they have war room. When they get in government, they get sidetracked. Because the same politician who made the fight for get in and made create all the havoc, he may get busy now with the ministry, and so he kind of forget that he's not a representative, and he figure he's more minister than representative.
You know, Julius said that very same thing, and I thought that was so interesting. He said, we tend to have this habit that when we become in government, we neglect the party. We forgot that we came from the party.
Yes, it's a political
And so you
party
tend
that
to
got in
start to
power.
only look at your ministerial responsibilities or your portfolios, and we forget but we party. We forget that we have to look after each other. We forget that any scandal or any untoward thing will affect the party, not you, the party. And so he said that there needs to be that reminder of you come from a party.
Exactly.
You know.
And you cannot utter more truer words than that, because people don't lose election because they are bad representative. They lose because they are bad ministers. The scandal is what you do while you're a minister. We look at the landscape, the riddle of carcasses that lies around in political carcasses. Look at it, and let's see what was their downfall. It's because the noise of their ministry got too big and too loud to overcome their popularity within their constituents. That's it. Look at it. Look at all of them. I don't want to call name because I don't want to.
You have
to
Penner
resurrect.
and the immigration situation. That made a huge scandal right there.
And he did it because he was a minister.
Yes, and Elvin Penner is now labeled for that entire immigration, that passport selling.
He was ostracized by his party as a result.
Because of that.
Yes.
You understand? Look at John Saldiva. He's stuck with that Lev Derman stigma, with that whole, label now, and even the Mason label,
Well, even
because
worse,
of what
he
he
was
did while he was
designated
in
by the
government.
United States. I think even greater is that a burden has been clapped on him by the United States. Whichever way you want to weigh on that, it is heavy. It is heavy.
And you have so many more. I mean, so many ministers. You had Max Samuels as well. You have, a lot of them, if you look at it, a lot of them have been labeled by things that they did while they held certain portfolios, while they were in government. Look, Patrick Faber. Patrick Faber is trying to beat now a label of being an abuser, that sort of thing. And so you have to understand that it sends a message, and you get stick with these labels. Oscar Mira can't live this one down. He could win the next election because politics is local, like we keep saying, and the Belmopan people might very well support him, especially if you see the opposition not put up one viable candidate for Gogensa. Yes, they might very well want election, which is probably why he said he probably needed till 30-30, because he not see himself to be in opposition. Cocky, I might add, but
Well, in politics, you better carry some level of confidence as
Yeah.
well. Because why would you want to put up yourself and say that I am saying to you, I am more popular than him? It's a level of self-centeredness for you to be an actual politician. It's to say that I'm better than him. Whatever it is I'm saying or doing or promising is better than him. Whether it is whatever it is that you feel that gives you the edge, that is what gives that level of confidence. So you can't go in there wishy-washy and say that I think
Of
I'm
course.
going to lose. And so that's it. That's very, very important.
William, let's use this last Julius and Mira before we go to break, and then we come back and discuss other things, please.
No political organization wants a scandal, if you call it a scandal. It makes you reflect. I'm talking as a party. It makes you reflect. The same thing that society is complaining about, the party complains about. You form government, and then you tend to abandon the party. And there's not enough attention given. Everybody want to be minister, everybody want to be this, everybody want to be that, and then nobody worry about the party itself. And if you leave that to one side, then everybody starts doing what they want or what they believe. And so the party needs to do its work too, bring back the soldiers, explain to them why we are here, and remind them of George Price and how he used to work it, and look at whatever problems we have and see how we can better it and become stronger after that analysis. That's the hope.
Yeah, we're back. I think that's exactly accurate and telling, is that all political parties, because what is happening right now with the opposition, it is the UDP. But when they were running it, it was Dean Barrow government. They were like, no party, no chairman, you know none of these things. You know only of these things when you're in opposition. You tell me who was the chairman or general secretary of the United Democratic Party when they were in power. You tell me right now, in terms of the rank and file of the People's United Party, in terms of chairmanship all the way down to secretary general and so on, right now, off the tip of your tongue for the average Joe on the street.
I remember Miss Pearl.
But when you're in opposition, everybody knows you.
Yeah.
Because you're up front, everybody know have experienced the Sheena Pitts and the various persons who are there, who are the shadow ministers and all of those persons. And then when they get in government, once you're successful to get your 16, you're lost. The party get lost in the fray, because the prime minister, who normally is the leader of the party, he gone on to prime ministership, he run country now, party, who worry about that? We only remember that when time election time. And then we start to find ways to criticize. Well, you abandoned the party while you were in that 5 years, and then you come back those 6 months maybe before to the party now because you have to go to election and hope that the party will bring back you into government. But you messed up while you were in government, or you forgot your party. So I think it's a songing across the board, because we see it every time. All the way through, we have seen it. Persons who are leading a party get elevated into government. It's a practice. It's a practice under this Westminster system that we utilize. But it's 2 minutes after 8, Renee. We come back and we continue discussions.
Over the past 5 years,
It's 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. If you had to be at work at 8 and you're not there yet, then I will dare to say to you, you are late. You are late.
Troy, sticking with politics, you have the city council elections coming up in March. You
Municipal.
register about Rural.
Rural, yeah.
Rural, all
I
right.
have
So then-
no skin in the game.
I could vote. I like Queen Square.
you could
Unrepresented
vote.
and proud.
Well, I don't know about the proud part, but maybe
I proud, boy. I proud.
Or I don't know
I,
about the unrepresented part.
I unrepresented
Oh,
too. Who
Lord.
am I representative?
You're gonna Queen Square. Queen
Uh-huh.
Square, my name.
See, you
That's it.
can't even remember the name.
No. The nickname come to me to mine. Godwin Hallock.
Oh,
No,
he
man.
not my representative?
Yes.
Legally.
Yes. Godwin Hallock Jr. So
Okay.
let's get it right. But
You know, I never had no campaigners come to me for voting at Queen Square the last election. I know see my era rep. I not even know if my era rep know that I live in a Queen Square. Like I said, I'm unrepresented.
so you had the standard bearers, the two of them, which was at the time with the UDP and PUP. So out of the two of them, none of them come here.
None of them, not Dr. McKay and not Godwin.
Oh Lord, somebody took you for granted then.
Yeah.
Both of them.
And then if I go move, you want to hear a big thing because they want to say, oh, but she not live in a, if I go move in a Caribbean shores and I go vote for Kareem or I go vote for Francis or I go vote for whoever the UDP they put out. And oh, but she not live dead. You want to hear a big thing. But then I want to be represented. So maybe you should be able to do that. Maybe I should have that liberty to go where I feel wanted and appreciated. I'm not wanted or
change the law.
appreciated. Yeah, I want to change the law. Because then I am not being represented in Queen Square, and I don't like that, and I want representation. So then should I then not have the liberty to say, you know what,
What?
well, I go in a Freetown, or I go in a Caribbean Shores, or I go in a Port Loyola, or I go
But the
wherever.
question is, what is representation?
Representation, well, I don't really,
you
I'm
deem it
not,
to
I'm
be?
not moved by the area representatives' presentation in the House. That's
Okay.
one part of my
Okay.
representation. The second part of representation, I did watch all of them people, the different divisions, and they have land clinic, then they have this clinic, that. I don't know if Queen Square ever had a land clinic before. If they did, I'm not aware.
Our Sister B.
You understand?
She worked.
But
she
Sister
had
B
one
used to
clinic
call
by
around.
herself.
No, but Sister B used to call. Listen, I could talk for my because I never used to the home really. But sometimes I get home and I get to a pantry and my mama says, oh, Sister B send that for you. You know, you get a leaf flower, you get whatever. And I, oh, wow, how nice, that kind of thing. When my son was sick, Sister B called me. Sister B said, I hear your son's sick. How you do this, that. Me don't know how I know my son's sick. I don't know. I don't ask her. But the fact that my area rep, they reach out to me for check by me, check by my son. They send me one leaf pantry here and there. You understand me?
Remember what Julia says? Julia says we forget how we got there. We forget the people who put us in that position to become ministers. And that is the exact thing you're saying, that most constituents lack the touch. Because we have gotten used to the personal touch, and that is what we considered for the most part. We put a lot of capital on that as representation, knowing that there's a human on the other end, whether it's conversation, whether it's over the phone or so. When you feel that connection with the individual, when they touch base with you, because you believe they're not just taking you for granted, but they're looking out for you, at least they're concerned. When you leave birthday, they maybe send you a little
And you know what the
card
surprising thing is, Troy?
or a little text.
The surprising thing of it is that in a Queen Square,
It's a small division,
It's
so you
a very
can't
small
complain.
division. We had only been visited by 2 area rep as far as my memory goes, right? Because I'm very young. So.
All right. Right, young
And I could remember that Dicky,
Uh-huh.
when Dicky made a run in a
Oh, Lord,
Queen
that's a
Square.
whole nother
Yes,
lifetime.
right. And Dean Barrow. Personally.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
No Sister B, no, but Dean Barrow personally came to the house and campaign
Okay.
and whatnot. Then there are the only 2 times I can remember area reps me. Oh, I'm lying, Anthony Sylvester.
Okay.
I remember Anthony Sylvester.
Okay.
But recently, me not say Dr. McKay, me not say what name?
Godwin
him,
Haylock Jr.
Godwin Haylock. I know, so who'd have been the next person we run before that?
Well, Sister B was there.
Even
right?
Alan Pollard.
Oh, Alan Pollard.
Even Alan Pollard, when he tried to
No
get
can
Queen
heal you.
Square, no can heal me. So I said, oh well. Anyway,
They took it for granted.
talking about representation, I think you have to represent the people. Let's be fair. You're being paid. You were elected. Represent the people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's important.
Well, it's convention time, and for municipal, as you pointed out, I mean, the PUP.
Convention time for PUP, because I still not hear nothing from UDP. The only thing I hear that Jacqueline Willoughby, they put up herself for UDP, and I saw her Friday as well. And
Confirmed?
she confirmed. I congratulated her and whatnot. And I said, you know, whenever you're ready for company show, I could talk and, you know, that kind of thing and whatnot. Because, you know, you have to give everybody one fair chance.
I believe
about.
that that's what democracy should be about, that it's a competition first and foremost, and then at the end of the day, it's a check and balance after you have been successful at the polls.
But I understand the PUP is in a bit of a debacle right now, in a bit of a between a rock and a hard place.
It's a quandary.
Yeah, in a quandary, because when you look at Alan Pollard and when you look at Elud Miller,
They're two viable candidates.
very viable candidates.
you
What
see-
are you going to do?
I don't want to prejudge the outcome of the election itself, but in my mind, the way how the system is structured in Belize City, and the way how I know the voters have done over the last couple of years, that is a tough uphill climb for the opposition. Either candidates, right? But if
You're
we
talking municipal?
municipal,
Uh-huh.
yes, municipal. I'm focusing on municipal. Sorry
Okay.
for those persons who may not know what I was talking about. But we talk about the quandary that the PUP is in as far as Belize City is concerned, and it's more the mayoral candidate. I think we may have about 25 or so, of my understanding, of persons who wants to be councillors. That obviously will be trimmed by when you do the vetting, and then we'll
The
see what
National
final
Campaign
number.
Committee has
Yeah,
to.
what that final
yeah.
number is going to be, and then whether or not there'll be a convention for the top 10, because that's normally how it works. And it's going to be by delegates. For the People's United Party, there are one delegate for every 25 votes that was derived during the general election. And then for Pickstock and Fort George, they did like last three election averages. And they already have a number of delegates assigned to them already. And then for the UDP, it should be one delegate for every 100 votes that you got, and then they got some other group of people like that form up the delegate list, which bring them to about a little bit under 600. The PUP would be almost close to 4,000 in terms of the amount of delegates that they would actually be able to have. Now, the fundamental here between the two candidates is that if you go back 3 years, you remember you had this challenge that came from Alan Pollard to Bernard Wagner, and then there was this sort of negotiation that took place because at the time Mayor Wagner was saying, I'm not going to go through a convention, it's an endorsement or nothing else. That was his position, because I'm a two-time mayor, and therefore I want to run for a third time, and I need to be given that level of respect, and therefore I'm not going to go through that process. I think it's an unnecessary process. I'm going to win anyway, and it's an expensive venture that I don't necessarily have to go through. The party then made a decision and negotiated with Pollard. I'm not quite sure what the outcome was in terms of what was used for him to step aside or stand down, but he did stand down. We're hearing that part of what was committed to him for him to stand down was that he was going to be unchallenged in the 2027 municipal. For mayor, he was going to be unchallenged, and that was a commitment that the party had made to him. While he says that he don't mind going to a convention, and both have said so, both individual, both Elud Miller and Alan Pollard. However, I'm sure in the back room, it is saying, you guys promised me this. Of course, when you have the Deputy Prime Minister in your corner and he's your godfather and has publicly endorsed you, that's a heavy weight. That's the biggest among the delegate grouping that you could get because of the margin of votes, the amount of votes that he has gotten. So you have good backative, and I'm sure if it is that a promise was made, that is now being called on and say, hey, you promised me this. And so there is rumors that Elwood Miller is being asked by the leader of the party, i.e. and the Prime Minister, to step aside, to kind of not have to go through this level of campaigning and bloodletting. And because most conventions have a tendency to be hostile. Have a tendency
well, of course,
to
it's
be,
a competition.
Yeah, have a tendency to be very, very bloody, as they would put it. And then it takes time for you to try to mend back because, bruised personalities and all of that, and bruised egos and things like that.
Well, the good thing they not send police for over no social media
Yeah,
posts during campaign season.
Well, not yet. But the point is I'm making is that it's a good problem to have.
Of course it is.
When you have two.
Imagine if you have the problem with UDP have right now.
Yes, well, you have two, if you want to put it, two very viable candidates, and that seems to be able to, be able to garner a successful outcome at the polls. And like I said, it's an uphill battle, and I will make the point to, if I'm here, to Jacqueline Willoughby, that, tell me what your strategy is to be able to turn Lake Independence and Pickstacks in particular, who are the game changers and equalizers in terms of sheer numbers. What is going to be your game changer to that? Because we've seen that once Cordell Hyde and now with Anthony Mala sits in those two divisions, they are able to motivate and galvanize the support around the candidates. And so it is... and for all intent and purposes, you can say... And
that's considering that you have Caribbean Shores and Freetown unlocked as well, no?
Well, I'm just saying that...
No, I'm just asking if that's what you're factoring in.
Areas and you can't control these two areas. They're so huge that they will wash over you. And so makes it even... Make your hill even higher.
Exactly. That's
when you bring in because the divisions that the UDP control in the city are small divisions. Queen Square. They're very small, so they don't do much in terms of tipping the scale. That's not even a thumb on the scale, for that matter, because they don't control a bulk of them, and then know that the PUP and Mesopotamia as well, but now that the PUP, the PUP controls, at least for the most part, Collet, which used to be a huge stronghold again for...
It's 7-3 at this point.
So that's what it looks like in terms of numbers. So even if you win by 1 in all divisions, just for Optics case, you will have 7 and they will have 3, even if you win by 1 vote.
And I find it amazing that Cordell has his area so tight. Like, he has the largest division in the city, right? Out of the 10, Lakei is the largest. But the support that he has out of Lakei somehow no waver. Like, he either really takes care of his division or is really loved, or I don't know, or all of the above, But Lakei is one of those areas that people look at when it comes to, whenever the topic of redistricting comes up.
Yeah, they
Lakei are one of the areas.
Good morning. Problem with party convention is too much dirty laundry comes out. How for Judge and Pickstock, who was in Zers, how will they do their delegates? Well, I explained already how that's going to be.
Your average the last
3 elections, they're taking the average. You could also take the entire voter roll, but they didn't do that. They did the last 3 average, and then they come up with whatever that average was. Then you assign 1 delegate for every 20 every 25 votes that you got. So that's how that's going to be dealt with. So that's already decided. They already know. So all left now is for the delegates list to go out, from my understanding. And I guess it happens for all. The same. The UDP constitution is similar in that
Similar.
area. Like I said,
I
the
think
only,
it's
the
just a
only
number
primary difference
different.
is the number of delegates per vote. They will send out their delegates list, and then you go and campaign to the delegates. You go find them and you campaign to them, because they're the ones that are going to vote in this particular. Because normally it's a closed election. It's delegates only.
I think you have 2 or 3 candidates coming up for Punta Gorda as well.
Well, it depends.
For mayor.
Who got in, but I don't know if they'll take all 3. Because when you go to
Yeah,
committee,
when it goes to
they'll
vetting
trim it,
committee, they
yeah.
have to trim it. No, I agree. But I'm talking in terms of interest, interest expressed to run in
They've
these.
applied.
They've applied, and you had 115 applications,
Okay.
and you have 67 seats
You
to
may hear
fill.
who are the 3 for PG?
No.
Okay.
I did look into it, and the secretariat told me that they don't want to release the names because they don't want. They prefer to release the names after the vetting committee is finished, as
Well,
opposed to list
Well,
everybody that applied.
assure Carlos Obia Galvez is one.
Of course.
I think Selgado is another one.
Charles
and,
S.
Yeah, yes, and I didn't
There's a
hear
third
the
young guy.
person, but that's what I've heard.
There's a third young guy, but the vetting committee said, you know what, let us go over it first, and then we'll release who are accepted.
Corozal is going to be a battleground. It seems as though that's a showing in terms of the 2 persons there. So it's sung that way that there will be a convention in Corozal between the Lady Rogers and the sitting mayor, Rigo.
But the thing with that, I'll be honest with you,
Rigo Bells.
from a news perspective, Corozal is dead. In the sense that we don't get anything out of Corozal. If our correspondent doesn't go actively seeking the mayor to find out what's happening, we don't get in terms of financial statements or financial reports or public meetings, or you get nothing out of Corozal,
When they say all politics local,
right?
as long as the residents get it, I guess that is their concern. No?
You know, you want to hear what's happening, like with PG when they have all of their events down south, and Obiala right there, so
Chief Lego a PG, man.
well,
You bring
Chief
back
Lake
news.
will have
Yeah, you
PG
bring
too.
back news.
No, but then
That's
but then
the-
in a Dangriga have Robert Mariano.
Yes.
We're always the pan
Yeah, he
news.
always call me,
He
indeed.
always does some kind of community outreach
But we
or
don't hear a lot
something.
out of San Ignacio either for the most part. Have you?
Why
San Pedro,
we-
San
we-
Pedro
San Pedro,
sometime.
no.
You don't hear nothing
I
much
think
coming
Wale
out.
Nunes thinking I need nobody, so that's fine. So we don't get nothing out of San Pedro. If Daneva Seka or interviewed Andre Perez, we wouldn't have known a lot of things that were happening in San Pedro. Which I should admit there is a lot. And then you had the financial report that came out from San Pedro as well. Which,
Show that they're having a
yes,
surplus.
they're having a surplus and they're doing very well. So I guess maybe that's why they feel they don't need we. But that's okay.
Well,
And then Orange Walk, well,
it's quiet too. It's quiet.
Orange Walk quiet, but that the Prime Minister stamping ground.
That's his division,
Right,
primarily.
primarily. And not only that, as I said, Orange Walk, I need to mention something, Kevin Bernard. So, there's this, I can pull this up. There's this thing happening at Northern Regional that I know a lot of people probably don't know about, but I am totally impressed. And I had asked Kevin Bernard for an interview on it, but haven't been able to get him as yet. In terms of free medical services.
I mean, free.
Like free, Troy, I was like, okay,
but it's not
did you know that make I finish, stop
Let me
to
try.
interrupt me, I push you right off of that chair.
No, that you did take long to come up. Can't
I have to look for the thing where
can't
you
have
think
the-
I could memorize that
I
thing.
can't have dead
Sit down,
space.
Troy. That NRH provides ultrasound services free of cost to the public. Upper abdominal ultrasound, pan-abdominal ultrasound, renal ultrasound, prostate ultrasound, including kidneys, thyroid and neck ultrasound, soft tissue ultrasound, musculoskeletal ultrasound, obstetrics, pelvic, scrotal, alladea, carotid Doppler ultrasound, venous. Troy, all of these ultrasounds are being offered free at Northern Regional Hospital. And they have other flyers where they out, but you might say I take
what's
too
the
long,
catch?
forgive it.
What's the catch? I mean,
Here we say no charges, no barriers, just quality care for all. There is no catch. Well, as far as I know. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Northern Regional Hospital Management.
but why Corozal and not everywhere? Isn't that what NHI
Oh,
does?
for God's sake, Troy. I don't know
No, but
why.
I'm asking a
I figured
question.
that because of Prime Minister area, Orange Walk.
Oh, uh-huh.
This is at the,
Orange Walk.
yes,
Northern Regional, which is Orange Walk, yes.
yes.
But then can somebody from Corozal go there or from Belize they go there?
Well, it's not limited to just Orange Walk people.
Okay.
It's not limited to NHI. Nothing for NHI there. It's saying absolutely free of cost to the public.
So
And this is not a fake flyer because this was posted by Kevin Bernard. Right?
well, like I said, I want to know what the catch was because NHI covers some level of diagnostic.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to Kevin Bernard about, but he
and-
hasn't really
and,
been open to
um,
an interview.
The question will come up, well, what happened to Southern Regional and Western Regional? Are they
Aye,
going
man,
to
why
get
we
the same
just
thing?
can't appreciate step by step that would make
Well,
progress?
but then,
why we
but then
want
say
everything?
it, but then say it so that you don't have, I don't have the question. This is what I talk about, getting in front of the story.
No, I agree, Troy. I just a message about-
don't let it
I
become
agree.
a question mark. Let it become the positive. So listen, I'm coming soon to these other regions. If
Or
it is,
we're working on whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
but
and-
but
when
right
you, when
now
you
the
throw
flyers,
the flyer like that, and I did a Cayo, I go like, what happened to we? Or I did a Belize City, and I said, what happened to Kalushna? Or Southern Regional, what happened to we at Angriga and PG? So I'm saying not to be mischievous, but to make the point that governments needs to understand that the rest of people are watching. So if you show a level of favoritism to an area, then let me know that my turn to come. You see, with NHI, we started with pilot project on the south side because we understood that what we were doing was a pilot project, and we started to roll out till finally now we have covered the entire country by putting in the west. But many persons didn't agitate too much because they believe it was a work in progress and we were going to get there. And so we're there in terms of having this sort of universal coverage, a global coverage within the jurisdiction. And so,
but and I agree with you because you know there's a lot happening out of the Ministry of Health. Like they're giving scholarships and what have you to people who want to pursue pursue studies in health like nursing and that sort of thing. They're giving scholarships. They're providing free health care at Northern Regional. Like I said, I don't know if it's something that's going to extend further, but.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not hearing anything about it until some scandal breaks, and then you hear, oh, but women they provide free health care all along. But who knows?
That's
Oh,
my
no, no,
point.
put it out.
That's my
And it's
point.
not just about getting ahead of potential scandals. It's about getting ahead in terms of letting the people know the good that you're doing as well. I would like to think that that is the reason why you have one public relations department. But the problem with that is that, Troy, a lot of these ministries, 95% of these ministries are opting to go on Facebook. Not everybody has Facebook. As much as Facebook is prevalent or very popular,
Especially in
very
the rural
common,
setting.
a lot of people don't. If I never work in a newsroom, I won't even have Facebook because I don't want to deal with that. This is just too much noise in your head.
And I still get information.
Yeah.
without it.
But you know the
The Forest Department announces closure of the 2025-26 logging season.
the Forest Department now a hot mess right now.
Well, it's signed here by Yanira, Mrs. Yanira Pop, Acting Chief Forest Officer. So there, it is. I think the Deputy Chief Financial Forest Chief Forest Officer is on leave now because remember there was this story. I think we touched on it last week, where he's been. There's some items in the news where they was accusing him of some level of impropriety that is more than likely will have to go through a due process and an investigation, or at least look into. I don't know if there's going to be any formal complaint from the general public or the person within the public domain that has shared the information with the media that created the discussion. We will, again, we need to, these are information
Talking
that
about
needs to be put out there.
formal complaint, the Broster situation last week, he took the complaint to the Integrity Commission.
But the one for, but what the complaint
Oscar
he took,
Mira,
the Mira situation.
for investigate the Oscar Mira situation in terms, I guess their area would have been what, personal enrichment.
Yeah, they would look at they would look at the balance sheet. If there's any disparity between one and the next, and to see whether or not he put in the report, to see whether or not maybe some of those monies funneled back to him. I guess that's probably what he's trying to look.
And then
that
you
all
see,
you could
Troy,
get from that.
wait, but then make I put this as one other example.
Yeah.
Troy, you say how long we the lobby on this morning show for get some sort of feedback or report in terms of what the Integrity Commission is doing. When thing hit the fan, that then government will want to try jump in and say, oh, but the Integrity Commission has been doing this. You want to wait till something happen that would then require
Not new.
some sort of report or action from the Integrity Commission, and then you're on the scurry wrong to try to damage control. When we just sit down here week after week to tell you, get it together.
Well,
Get your PR together. Every
the
minister have one PR.
chairperson kind of told you. He kind of told you that we no business about what you all feel, and so we got to a mandate and we follow that, and that for no problem. If we not obligated to give you no information. We not obligated. We follow our protocol. We stick it in the Gazette, and that's how we will proceed. We don't need to give no kind of release or any obligation for you. That I think Miss Lady, the chair lady, was very clear when I listened to the interview. It's like, we don't need to tell you nothing. And that's what I interpreted from her position. She just kind of skirted around and said, this is what we do, and that's it. She just gave her a little textbook. She just take out a piece of legislation and read it for you.
But the truth of the matter is, Troy, really and truly the onus and the responsibility falls back on the government. Because the government is the one who selects that commission. And the government is the one who's answerable to the people.
Well, where
And so the government is not answering, what is your Integrity Commission doing, sir? Are you wasting our taxpayers' dollars? What are they doing? Where are the reports? Are you going to release these reports? What
I
are the
think
reports
every
saying?
leader-
How many elected representatives actually do that declaration
Well,
every year?
every leader-
Other than Julius Espat, that makes it a point to put it out there in public. Every time he hands in his report, he makes it a point to say, today I submitted my declaration of assets, XYZ,
And this is
da-da-da-da.
this is where
Julius does it all the time, every year, without fail.
this is where the party should play a significant
So
role.
how
That
many-
every single representative who represents the party should adhere, because these are things that are going to come back and bite us. Anything that is going to hurt the party should be at the forefront of dealing with those issues. Not where everybody becomes their own prima donnas and they don't want to listen to nobody anymore because they have no representative and ministers et al. And so I submit it when I want, how I want, and why I want. There are penalties too for late filing, but anyway, we got to go to break. 24 minutes.
And for those who not file none at all, so who are being penalized? Because
I don't know
I
about
could
none.
guarantee you that not everybody they make their submissions.
I don't hear about any, but
You understand
it
me?
seems
So
as though the Integrity
where
Commission
is the report?
happy with what's happening. 23 minutes to 9. We take a break. We'll come right back. And we're back. It's 19 minutes to 9 o'clock, right? Time flies. We're going to be out of here. Last segment. We have 19 minutes. I don't know if you want to take 1 or 2 calls or just let it be.
No, we could take 1, 2, or 3 calls. Yes, not a
Cool.
problem.
Either way.
Troy, so those in Venezuela we were talking about earlier,
Yes,
they
yes.
still suffer from aftershocks.
Yes,
There was another
aftershocks,
one
4.6
this morning.
This morning again. Another
Right, and
tremor.
so that's something I want to talk about. But before that, there was a robbery and aggravated burglary actually at about 2:20 this morning in Belize City. And the weirdest thing, because I did try to understand what the Belize bus terminal would have to steal.
But say whatever cash they had found over the weekend, if they never have a proper deposit system to do it, but otherwise than that, nothing. Leave bathroom money and so, but I mean, unless you break into any of these shops that are there at the Belize City Terminal, which are basically some individual booths, but I don't know that there's anything substantive, I mean, quite honestly.
So it happened this morning at about 2:20 at the Novellos bus terminal. The 2 security guards, Russell Moody and Nelson Flowers, were bounded with duct tape, and the thieves went in and their cell phones were taken, the security guard cell phones. An office was entered, but the stolen items are yet to be determined. The security guards weren't hurt, thank goodness, and there was no forced entry. So that matter is under investigation. Like I said, happened about 2:20 this morning
Yeah.
at the Belize City bus terminal. But moving on now to that, I have a question. To what extent do you feel that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be or would be responsible? We have 6 students studying over in Venezuela, right? I've been in communication with these students directly, but I feel that perhaps, and maybe I am wrong and I stand to be corrected at all times, but I feel that as though they're relying on the government to extract them or to take care of them. And I'm thinking, if I go and I study in the U.S. or wherever, is it... Love, good morning.
Good morning, Blessing. I'd like to get into the show, please.
You're live on air.
All right. Should I Renee respond?
Yes, sir.
All right. Troy, this will be you here. And I hope that the boss, they hear to the phrase where the Jamaicans say,
Yeah,
he
Dan.
said, when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Who they play?
Who do you play?
Well, what happened is that Mondays, I listened to this thing for a long time. And Mondays, usually when the boss there and he designated for the callers then for we time because we only got Monday and Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
I know you're an intelligent man, Troy, and I like to listen to you, but you know everybody. Wow.
No.
All right, good. Nothing
No,
about it. But
yeah, better
we
you
are
not
talking
walk
about we
yourself
want
into
to
that,
Troy.
John.
So we
Yeah.
want to change into this thing with Father more Carlene than you and Miss Renee. They discuss things where we could find out otherwise, and then you're charging for we time who get a privilege from the boss to make it be Monday and Wednesday we could call. They're not going to be quarrel. Now, the next point I want to go to is that, Troy, you know too, every politician have to give people money. So where he get that money from? Unless he's a minister, take none of them. And you wouldn't do that to take your own money to give people to make them satisfied so that they could vote for you. That's why the thing happen. So we have to change the way we govern. We have to teach the people then what kind of way that they have to do things for themselves rather than wait. You inviting somebody in our government office and they do not file or the wall because you put your hand on the wall dirty. They wouldn't buy themselves together buy one tin of paint and say, well, this not look good. Then stay in the same office, not they look good, and then they wait for the government, make the government have to paint their office. We have to get out of that kind of stupidity there and get this country in our role. You understand? After when election done, we need to tighten up. These are Belize, these are we.
Yeah,
These are not
John.
about this one and that one.
All right, John, you get your call in, John. You get it off your
All right,
chest this morning,
one more
John.
thing, Troy.
Tell me.
One more thing, and you know too that this are this.
I know everything.
This Balia Mira,
Uh-huh.
you know, going to jail because you know do nothing wrong. The officer will facilitate the thing, started now, he know that they're going to loophole, and he know that the best way, Mira smarter than everybody else, and Mira they giving him money because he needs to do for his business. So Mira not going to jail, no public officer not going to jail. These are just semantics over the deal. Make we get to another point, man. Make we get on this thing out with this board. I think that's soon here because that the next topic going to come up. ICJ. Troy, down blessings.
Yes,
Boom.
sir. Boom. Yeah, John.
All right, good, Troy.
Good,
Have
good.
a nice
Yes,
day.
sir. Yeah. Okay, look. Yeah, well,
So there was a fatal traffic accident on Saturday. I just got that information and my veteran did right now, but Saturday at 9:05 p.m. So apparently this bus driver was standing beside his bus on the highway. This motorcycle come on at full speed and knocked down
oh, man.
the bus driver who was standing beside his bus. And so the bus driver sustained injuries he broke his 2 feet, abrasions to right elbow and left wrist, and then the motorcyclist, the Osmani Herrera,
He died.
he died. He suffered serious, he was flung from the motorbike
Oh, my.
on the collision. He suffered serious head and facial injuries with bleeding, and he died yesterday.
Yeah.
So you had that Saturday night. Yeah, so I was asking you, so if I decide that I go study the America and an earthquake happens in America, is it the government's responsibility to look after me?
No.
And if I feel that my life is at risk, is it the government's responsibility to extract me and bring me home?
No. Government never send you there. But,
So I'm asking in the context of the Venezuela situation. So you have 6 students, right? Belizean students who are over there. They're saying that they haven't heard from the government, that the government is not providing them with food, that the government is not, meaning our government, our foreign affairs people. And then I started thinking, but to what extent is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs responsible for them? It would be interesting to get some clarification.
I don't know if it's in your report or where I heard it, that they have reached out to them. In terms of interview, I think some lady Burns,
Yes,
if I
Luann
heard,
Burns.
had reached out to them, and so
Uh-huh.
to say the government hadn't reached out, I don't know.
So that's what I'm.
Because
that's
we
what
don't
I'm
know where
curious
you
about
are. You know.
because-
Let's face it, sometimes we don't know. Right now, as you speak, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or nobody in government knows who is all over the world studying from this country. We don't have people don't go and register anywhere and say, I'm going to study in the United States and so I'm leaving now and I'll be there until December and I'm coming back in January and then I'll leave in February. Nobody knows
You're
what the
free
heck you're doing.
movement, so you know.
Yeah. So that is a bit unfair in the first instance. But if it is that what I know happens, if the government recognize that we do have this sort of situation, and they try to reach out and get feedback from persons, and so. But if we know, because many times you
So
don't know.
in this situation at Guatemala, I know there's a group chat with the students, right? I know that from the interview that I did with the CEO in Foreign Affairs, he said that the ambassador has been making constant checks on them
in Venezuela.
in Venezuela.
Okay.
But when you look at the magnitude of what happened, it's over 1,000 people dead, a lot of them missing in Venezuela. So the government of Venezuela in itself has a lot. So it took them a little bit like over 18 hours. It took our Belizean students a little bit over 18 hours to be able to access shelter and food, because that's how it's like if a hurricane happens here and you're trying to get people in shelters or trying to evacuate, you're trying to search and rescue.
You have to go through a process.
You have to go
of
through a
chaos.
process.
And remember,
So it took
hurricane
them
is something that you foresee. Earthquake is totally, there is no
Yeah.
warning, there is nothing that comes. It comes, at least with hurricane, many times you are caught in that process because you never heed the warnings. But, I mean, using your example, but earthquake is immediate. Bam! It happens. Chaos. And so now we might get word that we have some students in Venezuela. Let's assume Foreign Affairs know about them, because I believe maybe Foreign Affairs never know who all is out there.
No, they don't. They keep track.
Well, that's even better. That's
Because
even
it's only
better.
like a handful. So
Yeah,
I
but
keep
that,
track.
that's
But I'm
even-
just asking, to what extent is Foreign Affairs
Well,
responsible to?
as far as I'm concerned, Foreign Affairs doesn't have a responsibility up to the extent that, you know, they're our citizens and make we see how we could help them, because that's what you have sometimes, consulars in
So
certain
here
jurisdictions.
the message before this. Still sleeping outside in the cold on a veranda with continuing tremors. Ever so often there are tremors. No help so far. Still waiting to see what's the next move or what the government of Belize has in plan for us. As of now, we are on our own. We will try to see if the 5 of us can reach out to you for an interview. But as of now, we are alive and we're together, and the 5 of us, and hoping to get help soon. And so based on that, I said, I began wondering, to what extent is the government responsible to help?
Well, you know,
Because you hear
pardon
what
me
he
for-
said. He
for-
said he's waiting to see what
pardon
the
me
next
for my
move.
pragmatism.
Uh-huh.
We're in a disaster zone. Every single Venezuelan in that region is experiencing the same thing. People have to sleep out on the street because the building, who went in our building where crack up and could fall on you anytime. So persons are fearful for themselves. So nobody are going into any, if you watch, like, not watch Western media, but watch maybe the Al Jazeera and you'll get a much more deeper sense of the confusion and chaos. And remember, Venezuela was going through its own economic depression as it is, and this will only make it even greater. So whatever our students are experiencing, you when you're there, you're living like the regular person. Now, give Belize a little time because communication is down, access, no flights coming in, none of these things are happening.
Love, good morning.
Good morning, Rennie. Good morning, Troy.
Hi,
Morning,
good morning,
Hector.
good morning. Yeah, Don
Since
Hector.
on that topic, here I go. We have been noticing a pattern right now that can be compared to the ring of fire in the East Pacific. Listen carefully. It began here between Yucatan and Cuba some 2 or 3 weeks ago, whereby certain earthquakes occurred, one on the point of Yucatan, then the other one on the eastern part of Cuba. Then it came back and it hit Tulum. Tulum was not far away from Corozal, from north. Tulum. It hit there. Then it went around. Well, Haiti had got it already. Haiti got a bad one. Now it turned around now and it goes to Venezuela. There we had the maximum one that occurred there. Then day before yesterday also it hit Nicaragua with a 5.2. Notice the pattern, going right around the Lesser Antilles into Nicaragua, and it comes up to Nicaragua. My concern is that fault that is just a couple 100 miles from Belize City, the Cayman Trench. It has had earthquakes before. It has, for example, one that where the Monkey River houses sank into the ground, and then they had the vat at Mango Creek. The water vat was moved of its mooring, and the bridge at Bermuda Landing was moved away from its mooring to the land. Now, these are instances that remind us, or should remind us, that we are prone to something. I don't want to use the word earthquake or tsunami. My question is this, and I have been throwing it out. Are we prepared? Do we have a plan for an earthquake or a tsunami? Tsunami is more possible than an earthquake of that magnitude because the fault is a couple 100 miles from Belize City.
Okay.
Now, I have been asking, is there a plan? I don't think I have never heard of a plan that can happen because this thing in Venezuela should give everybody a ring, should ring a bell that it could happen.
Okay.
And Belize City is low from Corozal up to near Punta Gorda, low land. that an earthquake or tsunami would hit would affect nearly the whole coast of Belize. I haven't heard anything about Belize, but my suggestion, since I am on this topic, is that there should be a siren, number one, a powerful siren that was existed at the Pastoral Building in olden days before it burned down, to warn the Belizean people of an incoming tsunami or whatever. Secondly, to declare certain buildings as shelters if there should be a tsunami, because we can lose half of our population if we are not prepared. But there are certain buildings where people can rush into. I don't know what the NEMO or whatever it is has any plan, but it is of great concern to see what has occurred lately around our ring. I call it our ring. In the East Pacific, we have the ring of fire. Now here we are seeing a pattern.
Thank you.
With that, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As we all know, Renee, tsunami is the after effect of an earthquake, meaning that you would have an earthquake happen in the sea, and it creates a movement of that water, so it comes as a wave wash off. The only solution you have to tsunami is high ground. You try to get to high ground as quickly as you can. You're going to have
But we do have an alarm, because I remember sitting in my sofa a few years ago and we started hearing this alarm, and we had just had tremors, right? Like, and then the alarm came on. It was the first time I ever heard it in my entire life. No, there was an alarm in the city.
Oh, you heard a horn.
And I'm like, so I went into the management group and I said, am I the only one hearing this? What's going on? And next thing you know, Chief and Rene Jr. said, everybody report to work now. There's a tsunami warning. And so we had to come to work to, start alerting the people that there's this tsunami warning, what a tsunami is, what it means, that sort of thing. And luckily...
I had traveled out of the city because I believe I was in low-lying areas. So
exactly, so you go to higher
because
ground.
If you have the time...
you leave.
Yeah, because if you remember what has happened to the whole issue of I think it was in Indonesia or so, the 26th of December, where this huge tsunami had occurred and killed so
went
many
in
people.
for miles.
Yes,
the water washed
so
in for miles.
It's normally just one
One
wave,
sweep.
one
One
wave
sweep.
that washes over.
And so I remember getting that alarm. I remember, I sent my mom and my family to gas station, fill up your vehicle and get out. Get out.
Yeah.
And so we do have that alarm.
It's either to go high, if you believe you're in a very fortified building, then you go high. But the idea is to go as much inland as you can. That would be
because that tsunami,
solution.
depending on the magnitude, could extend for many, many miles.
Yeah, and as to earthquake, Mike Tyson have this saying that everybody that gets into the ring with him always come with a fight plan till they get punching him out. Our plan is only as good as when we get the impact, because we have never had earthquake before in Belize. We had tremors and so, but we have never had an epicenter and all of that. Here, we're outside of the tectonic fault plate.
But we have been impacted, because if you remember down south, I don't remember where the earthquake was, but down south you had buildings that got cracked and affected by those very same what do you call it? The
tremors.
Yes, the tremors. So while we are outside, the aftershocks, while we're outside the tectonic plate, we can still be impacted to some degree here because of those same tremors, depending on the magnitude.
So I think we have to also apply a level of common sense, because most of the time the service kicks in after the fact. The plan is for after the fact, because there can't be a plan as to what you do when an earthquake, other than the fact that try to get out of the building as quickly as you can, because that's where the damage occurs. If it will fall on you, and once it's fall on you, it takes a while for rescue. And some people will probably die from the injury or suffocation or what have you before they actually find you, and sometimes they never find you based on the timing. So the quickest thing is to get out into the street so that there's less debris that could fall on you. That is the quickest way to protect yourself. Then afterwards, now, like we're talking about these students, now after the dust settles, then we could try to find people and where you are and how we could get food to you, how we could get shelter, how we could get you out for that matter. But those things will take time. The same thing if we had a hurricane. Even though we plan and tell people to evacuate, and so when we get hit, the level of destruction is going to be mind-boggling. And then we have to come back now and pick up back the
rebuild.
pieces.
It's like
And
Hattie.
Yeah. So it's what we must do is have your plan. You individually must have your plan. Don't only rely on the state, but you must have your plan. Same way when you travel, you go to the United States, you go to Venezuela, wherever, you go to LA, that's an earthquake spot. So what are your plan when it happen? Because you have to have the plan first, then you survive, then you get the help. But you have to have the plan to survive. So what is the prevention for hurricane? You get out of harm's way. Get to the shelter before the hurricane come. Get to highland if if you're living on the coast, because that's where the water is coming there, the wind is coming there, and so you have to protect yourself.
I think perhaps that is where you would have a public awareness movement from NEMO in terms of advising people in the event of a tsunami. What is a tsunami? Because a lot of people might not be familiar with that term. We know what the hurricane, but we might not know what the tsunami. And this is where NEMO comes in terms of doing a public awareness to the people. What is a tsunami?
Yeah.
What happens in a tsunami? How do you protect yourself from a tsunami? That sort of thing. What are tremors? You understand? How do we feel the tremors? The tremors are because of XYZ.
And what happened?
That sort of thing.
Sometimes these programs would go on, we would have people on the couch and so on and talk about all of these things. Because we've spoken about these things with the chief met officer and so already, in fairness to them. But again, if you didn't listen or you never tuned in,
hit.
Yeah, you just didn't get it. But you would then go and say that.
But like when you had COVID, you had all of these public awareness ads coming out. Wear a mask, sanitize, don't do this, don't do that. That is what you need. You need that repetition and that consistency in terms of educating people on these things. And I think that's what we need to look at. Try that after 9 o'clock.
Yes, 3 minutes after 9 o'clock. We gotta go. And we're glad that you tuned in. So I want to say thank you for Richard Herbert, Rich, for doing a good job as usual on Love FM this morning. I want to thank our master control operator, who didn't win the 74, William Usher, as well as Manuela Yuso, our producer. And we want to thank Rich as well for supporting and producing as well, and Andrew Jones for streaming. In addition, all those behind the scene who made this show possible, our few callers this morning as well, and you, our viewers and listeners throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful Joel. We're glad you could join us this morning. If you're streaming, welcome as well. And we trust that this morning's discussion was informative and entertaining. And of course, want to thank our news director right here, Renee, for joining me this morning, and so we could make the discussion extremely interesting. If you're celebrating your birthday today on this 29th day of June, we say happy birthday again. And as usual, we would say come back again tomorrow, where we will do this all over again just for you. Remember to join me tonight along with Daryl Carter, where we will be discussing all things business, but not business as usual, on the Business Hour coming up at 7:30 right here on Love FM and Love Television. Okay, so we do know, Renee, you have choices. Where you get your information, where you get your entertainment from. And we're certainly glad every time when you choose love. And because you choose love, we always say, Belize and beyond. Thanks for choosing love. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Belize, and good morning. I say good morning, Belize, and good morning. And how are you this morning?
Wake up every morning, like go to work and get till night. every morning, let's go to work from day